What if the greatest miracle was not bringing someone back from the dead, but learning how to let them go? This is the story of a man who loved so deeply that he challenged heaven itself. And it happened during the time when Jesus walked the earth. In a small village near Jerusalem, among stone houses and olive trees that swayed in the desert wind, there lived a young man named Eliab. He was not rich, he was not famous, he was not powerful, but he loved. And sometimes, love is the most powerful thing of all. Eliab had known Miriam since childhood. They had chased each other through olive groves, they had laughed beneath fig trees, they had shared secrets under starlit skies. As they grew older, friendship turned into something deeper, the kind of love that feels written into destiny. They promised each other something simple: no matter what comes, we will face it together. But life in those days was fragile. One winter, a sickness spread through the region. Fever, weakness, breath fading slowly away. Miriam fell ill. At first, they thought she would recover, but the fever did not break. For days, Eliab stayed at her bedside. He prayed, he fasted, he begged God for mercy. He held her hand and whispered, "Stay, please stay." But sometimes, love cannot fight time. One evening, as the sky burned red with sunset, Miriam's breathing slowed. She looked at him one last time, not with fear, not with pain, but with peace. And then, she was gone. The world did not stop. The wind still blew, the sun still rose. But for Eliab, everything ended. They buried her on a hillside outside the village. A simple stone marked her name. From that day on, Eliab changed. He stopped laughing. He stopped gathering with friends. Every evening, without fail, he walked to her grave. He would sit beside the stone and speak as if she were still listening. "I will wait for you," he would whisper. Days became months. Months became years. 3 years passed. 3 long years of grief. And then, rumors began to spread. There was a teacher traveling through the land, a man who healed the blind, cleansed the sick, restored the broken. Some even claimed he had raised the dead. Eliab ignored it at first. Hope can be dangerous when your heart is fragile. But one day, a traveler passed through the village. "I saw it with my own eyes," the man said. A dead man walked again. Something inside Eliab stirred. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something other than sorrow. He felt possibility. That night, he did not sleep. What if? What if Miriam could return? The next morning, he heard that Jesus was nearby. Without hesitation, Eliab ran. Dust rose beneath his sandals as he crossed the rocky path. When he reached the crowd, he saw him. Calm, steady, compassion in his eyes. Eliab fell to his knees. "Rabbi," he cried, "please, help me." Jesus looked at him, not as a stranger, but as someone already understood. "What troubles you?" he asked gently. "My beloved," Eliab said, voice shaking. "She died 3 years ago. I have not known peace since. I have heard you have power over death. Bring her back." The crowd fell silent. Some whispered. Some shook their heads. Jesus studied him carefully. "If she returns," he asked softly, "will it truly give you peace?" "Yes," Eliab said without hesitation. "Without her, I cannot live." There was a pause. And then Jesus said words that would echo in Eliab's heart forever. "Be careful what you ask. But grief makes us stubborn." "Please," Eliab insisted. After a long silence, Jesus nodded. "Take me to her grave." They walked to the hillside. The villagers followed at a distance. The stone still stood, weathered by time. Jesus said, "Move the stone." Gasps filled the air. "She has been gone 3 years," someone whispered. But Eliab obeyed. The stone rolled away. The air felt heavy. Jesus stepped forward. He called her name. Miriam. Silence. Then, movement inside the tomb. A soft breath. And slowly, she stepped out. Alive. The crowd erupted in shock and praise. Eliab rushed forward, tears streaming down his face. Miriam. She looked at him. Confused at first. Then recognition. Eliab? Eliab? He held her tightly. His miracle had arrived. But Jesus was not celebrating. He was watching. At first, everything seemed perfect. The village rejoiced. They planned their wedding again. Laughter returned. But slowly, something felt different. Miriam smiled, but sometimes her eyes seemed distant. At night, she would wake suddenly, staring into darkness. One evening, she whispered something that made Eliab's heart tremble. When I was gone, there was peace. He froze. No pain. She continued softly. No sorrow. Only light. And now? He asked carefully. She hesitated. Now I feel pulled, as if I do not fully belong here. Fear crept into his chest. You belong with me, he insisted. But love forced back into the world is not always the same love that left it. Weeks passed. The joy faded into something fragile. One night, Eliab found her standing beneath the stars. Do you ever think, she asked quietly, that we hold on to things because we are afraid? Her voice carried no anger, only truth. He realized something painful. He had asked for her return, not because it was best for her, but because he could not bear his grief. The warning returned. Be careful what you ask. For the first time in years, Eliab prayed differently. Not for himself, for her. He found Jesus again. I understand now, Eliab said quietly. Jesus looked at him with knowing eyes. You love her, he said. Yes. And now? Eliab swallowed hard. I love her enough to let her go. That evening, Eliab and Miriam walked together to the tomb. No crowds. No noise. Only wind across the hillside. He took her hands. I asked for you back because I was afraid. But love is not possession. Tears filled her eyes. You have grown. He smiled softly. I want you to rest. Jesus prayed. And gently as she had returned, Miriam grew still, peaceful. No struggle, no fear, only calm. Eliab held her hand until it grew cold. But this time, he did not collapse. He did not scream. He wept quietly. And then he whispered, Go in peace. Years passed. Eliab still visited her grave, but no longer in desperation. He came with gratitude. He learned something greater than resurrection. He learned surrender. He learned that love does not demand. Love trusts. And sometimes, the greatest miracle is not changing God's will, but allowing God to change your heart. So if you are holding on to something, if you are begging heaven for what you lost, ask yourself, is it love or fear? Because sometimes letting go is the deepest form of faith. And sometimes the grave teaches us how to truly live.